Nathan, please get the round of applause ready for an unstoppable Australian icon. She's a woman of true resilience and fierce determination. Since losing her leg at age 3, she's overcome all odds in a true testament of Aussie spirit. She's the most decorated Australian Paralympian all time with 17 Paralympic medals, including 6 golds across 4 games from Beijing to Tokyo. But her brilliance doesn't end at the pool. She's a disability advocate, a voice for inclusion, empowerment, and a proud recipient of the Order of Australia medal. Her journey has been immortalised in the acclaimed 2020 Netflix documentary Rising Phoenix, reaching global audiences. She's now turned her eye to motherhood and storytelling with her brand new book, Felix and His Fantastic Friends, on Amazon now. Please welcome to the show, Ellie Cole!
Hi, Ellie.
I need you guys to wake me up every morning. Yeah. That's an amazing intro. Thank you.
Ellie, thank you so much for being on the show. We adore you. It's funny, we were talking in the office and we were like, we get so excited every time we talk to you because you truly are so inspirational. Like every time I see you on our screens, hear you in an interview or just do something that, you know, that Ellie Cole does, I'm always like, wow, that's our girl. And I just instantly have ownership. Like,
that's what Australians do with sports people, though. If I can still call myself a sports person.
Oh, yeah.
I do love to take ownership of our own and be very proud of them. But listening to my intro, then it made me very tired.
Yeah.
I saw Arnie, like you talk about ownership, I saw Arnie Titmus at the State of Origin this week, and she was on the 9 coverage, and she was like being a proud Queenslander. She lives there, but she's born and raised Tasmanian.
Yeah.
And I just saw all these people, then they were getting upset. They're like, no, she's ours. She's from Tassie.
Yeah. Actually, Ellie,
right.
Have you ever been involved in people arguing about who has ownership of you, like different states or different sports or anything like that?
Not really. I'm really a woman of the people. So I just go with everyone. But I grew up in Victoria, so we watched AFL, but now I'm a Blues supporter for the State of Origin.
That's our girl. That is our girl.
Call myself a Blues girl now.
Hey, Ellie, we wanted to talk about these enhanced games because this is everywhere in the moment. And I know you've said quite a few different things about it. And I'll be honest, we don't know that much about it, but we wanted to get somebody, you know, who's been in the professional sporting world for so long to really give us an opinion on it. What are your thoughts on these enhanced games? If you don't know what it is, it's this multi sport event similar to what the Olympics is, where athletes are essentially allowed and encouraged to use performance enhancing drugs.
It's allowed to dope, right?
Yeah, they essentially have to dope, Ellie.
This is crazy.
Like this
they don't have to dope.
Yeah.
But you won't win if you don't.
Yeah, it's encouraged. When you hear about something like that, you know, forming and getting traction, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, for those that don't really know the context of the Olympics is faster, higher, stronger. It's the whole motto of it. The enhanced games is that, but it is so much so with performance enhancing drugs. I'm not really sure how to feel about it. I've certainly read a lot of media articles and seen a lot of opinions online. I actually made an opinion on television the other day, and I couldn't believe the messages that I was getting from people. I think, you know, people are very passionate about this, whether they sit on one side of the fence or the other. Of course, I kind of sit a little bit in the middle where I'm interested to see what can happen with these enhanced games in terms of doping, as long as it's done in a safe way. I think in sport, people can make their own decisions about whether they want to dope or not. Obviously, at the Olympics, you undergo drug testing, so that's not allowed. But in these enhanced games, it certainly is. And I'm definitely not going to tell anyone that they're not allowed to dope. I think it's going to be an interesting spectacle, to say the least, and certainly is drawing a lot of attention for reasons that are pretty obvious. We want to see how fast people can go. We've already seen a world record broken from someone who's doping in the 50-meter freestyle. So it's definitely interesting. I've seen a lot of arguments that, you know, taking performance-enhancing drugs, we're not sure long-term what that's going to do to somebody's health, and that is right. But I've mentioned before, being an elite athlete and putting yourself through 6 hours of, you know, pushing yourself to the absolute limits every day for years on end is not too great for your body either. So long term, whether you're a clean athlete or a doping athlete, you're probably going to see some effects of your sporting career in your later years in life. I'm certainly interested to see, you know, where this can go, though. But my only concern is, you know, these athletes that are talking about exactly, down to the very minute details, the prescription drugs that they're taking, what kind of steroids that they're taking. My concern is that teenagers are going to read this and go online and buy these drugs and won't be under medical supervision.
Yeah.
And that's definitely where the risks lie, in my opinion. But Yeah, I know. I'm interested to see what happens. I'm definitely not against it. I wouldn't do it myself, but I'm not going to stop anybody else from trying.
What was, I mean, you got that blowback, because, I mean, I watched it, you're chatting to Mark Tubby Taylor about it as well, and, talking about the long effects of the body. Like, did you get, like, was the opinion negative towards you? Were they saying, like, why are you talking about this? Was it positive? Like, what were the messages? Because it feels like you just chatting now, your opinion's kind of slightly changed.
Well, my opinion's always been the same. I think when you see, audio bites of someone's opinion, then you can draw your own conclusions pretty quickly. So I did definitely get negative blowback. I had someone tell me I sounded like I was on my 8th COVID booster vaccine. So I was like, so you're for doping, but you're against vaccines. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't.
What needle do you want?
Well, James Magnussen, he's like an Olympic swimmer. He's going to be competing in these enhanced games. Yeah. And his body is like,
I showed him.
He looks like Ace Getney.
I showed him.
He looks like a cartoon.
She's gonna have nightmares, because I showed him this photo.
His neck is thicker than his head now.
When you see, I mean, obviously, Magnussen's always been a big bloke.
Yeah.
But when you look at somebody like that, Ellie, how does that make you feel, knowing that a lot of that is, I guess, been injected?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I think I read somewhere that he's put on around about 15 kilos of muscle from when he was a clean elite athlete. So he's put on a considerable amount of muscle mass. But this is the interesting thing about the enhanced games. It's not that anyone can just take performance-enhancing drugs and break a world record. That's not the way it works. You still have to be a very talented athlete. James Magnussen was an incredibly talented athlete, but he's put on all of this muscle, and despite his PB being 10 years ago, he is swimming slower than when he was a clean athlete. So, there is a balance between, you don't really see swimmers with that much muscle mass, and there's a reason for it. Muscle weighs a lot, and you'll see that swimmers are usually more on the lean side. So it's for me, it's interesting. I did a sports science degree at university, and I understand, how the biomechanics and hydrodynamics and all of that work. And so I'm kind of seeing someone who has bulked themselves up. He said he was going to juice himself to the gills. Yeah. But I'm like, well, it might not actually be the best way to go about it. So I think there is certainly some strategy to the enhanced games. It's not just about juicing up. It's kind of about how you do it as well.
Yeah. So where is the limit with stuff like this? You know what I mean? Like, everyone's talking about, injecting things like steroids and stuff. But, with advances in technology, you can keep going. Like, we're only steps away from, putting in, like, microorganisms into our bodies and then taking over our bones and everything. Like, how far can this go before we're literally putting robots out there, essentially?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, actually, because I don't think everyone's really considered where the limit is. Yeah. And, this could just be the start of something huge. And what most people probably don't realize is I've actually been doing a little bit of research on the enhanced games in the last few days. And they say things that, like, prosthetics are allowed. So, like, really anything goes. People can... Paralympians could potentially enter this. We saw Oscar Pistorius race at the London 2012 Paralympics as a double leg amputee, and people were saying a guy with no legs had a competitive advantage, which is the first time I've ever heard anybody say that.
Yeah, exactly.
They were kind of right, and people are going to be doing some pretty crazy things in order to win that $1 million US prize money of breaking a world record. I wouldn't be surprised if we see people do body modifications down the track to be able to do this. And
that's terrifying.
That just opens up a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, then, I mean, I wonder what this means for, trans athletes and stuff as well, because, I mean, a lot of people can argue that is, in one way, body modification. You know what I mean? So does that mean it's almost open slather for anybody? Yeah,
it's an interesting question. I haven't actually researched too much about the trans integration into the enhanced games, and not sure how exactly that all fits together. But that is another argument. I suppose at the end of the day, if you're injecting in performance-enhancing drugs, in the trans debate, people have been considering testosterone as a performance-enhancing drug. So, I'm not exactly sure where that sits, but it's certainly something I'm going to research as soon as I get off this. I'm interested in that.
I'm just giving you another Google search.
Ellie, I mean, Nathan and I didn't come up with this idea, but I think a better idea has always been, and I always see it when it comes to the Olympics, is just get some average Joes out there. You know what I mean? Some guys and some girls who can't, they're not that athlete. Because you talk about it, you've still got to be an athlete when you get injected or whatever. Let's just see how good they are by putting a bloke out there, running down the 100 metres.
I also want you to know, Ellie, Jimmy's been told to stop making things about himself. So
I think it's a good idea for all the three of you. You know, next Olympic Games, you race an Olympian in each sport. I think that would make a great series.
Nate challenged Arnie to a swim race once, and she said she'd do it, but then she was like, because Nate's a big guy, he took muscle, she goes, I think you'd just be really embarrassed.
I remember when I was in the jungle for the television show where people go into the jungle. I raced Khan Ong in the waterfall, and I said to him, like, look, I'm a Paralympian, so you're going to have to like swim with one arm and one leg, and I'll swim with one arm and one leg. And we did. Tried to make it as even as we could.
Yeah. Did you beat him? Surely. Yeah,
of course I did.
What about this? I mean, this. I don't know if you saw in the news about a bunch of men fighting a gorilla. There's 100 men. Could they beat a gorilla? But what about 20 enhanced James Magnusons versus a silverback gorilla?
Yeah.
Who do you think wins that fight?
Who wins that?
I think one James Magnuson would probably beat a silverback gorilla. I don't think you need 20 of him. Have you seen a photo of him?
He's as big as a silverback.
Yeah, it's funny. Coming soon to the enhanced games is gorilla wrestling.
There is no line, remember? So far, we've already established that.
Ellie, we do want to chat to you as well about the new book, Motherhood, Felix and Fantastic Friends. How proud of you of this little thing that you've done as well?
Yeah, it's just so cool.
Yeah, it's certainly cool. I suppose I had a little break at the beginning of the year and decided that I don't like idle time. So I decided to write a children's book, which is a lot more work than I ever thought that it would be. But I've got a 1.5-year-old son now. He'll be going to school soon. And I wanted him to be really proud that his mum's different. I think historically we've always shied away from differences, but I really want this generation that my son's growing up in to really embrace those differences. So I wrote a book about him being in the playground, and he meets six characters that each have a different type of disability. And he actually learns that each type of disability has a real strength, and that there are characteristics and, that people that have lived experience of disability really bring to the table. And I really wanted people with disabilities who are reading this to understand that, but also able-bodied kids. Yeah. So the protagonist is my son, and he's actually able-bodied. Yeah. And any children's book that I've ever read about disability, it's usually the main character has one themselves, but I really wanted the main character to be able-bodied. And so I just wrote it around my son and put a lot of pressure on him when he goes to school now to be super nice to everyone. There's no other choice.
How does? I mean, I know he's only 1.5, so he's still young. But have you had any feedback on the book from him yet? Did he say? I don't know how much talking he's doing, but
Does he like the pictures?
Anything that he doesn't like in the book, and you're all right, fine, I'll take it out.
Yeah, no. He does like the book. I think his favourite page is the opening page because there's a photo of him and I in there. And so he usually just opens that and he just goes, Mum, which is super cute. But he definitely doesn't understand it. He actually ripped a page out of one yesterday. So luckily I've got about 150 copies.
I hope you've got show and tell sorted for the next 5-6 years, Ellie. It's just going to be that book over and over again.
Yeah, I definitely do. And the characters are actually all based off real life people. And one of them is a girl that lives up the road from me who sits on the autism spectrum. And she's going to go to Book Week this year as herself. So she's really excited.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
I'll be honest, when I grow up, I want to be Ellie Cole. So, Ellie, we adore you. Thank you so much. The new book, Felix and His Fantastic Friends. It is on Amazon now. Thank you very much. We should all, go out together and watch James Magnuson fight a gorilla in these enhanced games. It's going to be interesting.
Vegas 2026.
It actually sounds like a kid's book.
James Magnuson fights a gorilla.
And the big gorilla. Ellie Cole, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.